Hello, 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 and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. My name is Matt Miller. Justin will be joining me shortly. He is currently having some severe technical problems, so we'll get that figured out in a second. But in the meantime, today we are going over and continuing our college football hype train series, where basically we just choose a team from each conference that we really think is going to massively improve this year based from last year. So we'll just take a team that we think is going to do well. Maybe not necessarily win the conference, but yeah. We here at Updog Sports Talk pride ourselves on sticking up for the little guy. Hence why you see Sunbelt in the name, assuming it came through correctly. But unlike the big media networks, we really love to talk about the less represented teams. So we'll still talk about the big teams that we are pretty much contractually obligated to talk about. The Ohio State Buckeyes, the Alabama Crimson Tide, the Dallas Cowboys of the world. We want to take a holistic look at the entire league, each league. Hence why you see us talking FCS football every now and then. So to jump in, as I said before, we're going to go over the hype train. Today, we are going over ACC, American Athletic Conference, and Sunbelt. So while I wait for Justin to fix his issues, did want to start the show with some breaking news. Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay has passed away at the age of 65. He took the team over in 1997. So our hearts go out to his family and friends. So we'll see what happens with that. But first things first, got to give our condolences. Thoughts and prayers go out to the family. No, you guys didn't come here for this specifically, but I'm just stalling to waiting for Justin fix his everything. He apparently can't use the website. It's telling him his camera's already in use, so it's not letting him use it. So I'm gonna take a couple minutes and kind of get some thoughts out before we jump in to the episode itself. The NBA playoffs are in probably the best position they've been in decades. Right now you have the Thunder versus the Timberwolves. That's game one was last night. The Thunder ended up winning 114-88. Tonight, the New York Knicks take on the Indiana Pacers, my Indiana Pacers. So it's kind of funny that I was kind of stumbling over my words there for that. But the last championship between all of those teams was when the Thunder were in Seattle as the Supersonics in 1979. The Knicks had 1973 or 74 championship. So they none of these teams really have been here before. And so it's really cool to see that the NBA playoffs finally have parity. So it'll be interesting. However, one note that I must say is if Thunder win, statistically, the one seed will win the entire thing. So maybe because all these teams are different, then it'll be a different outcome. So we'll see there. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA for short, won the MVP, and he is well deserving, but I've heard a little bit of criticism from the non-Thunder fans saying he flops a lot. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not, but it's someone different, so I think we need to at least give props where props are due. Justin is still fighting with technology, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in for a minute. For the ACC, the team that I chose to hype up this year is the UNC North Carolina Tar Heels. Bill Belichick is in. They traded one 70-year-old coach for another. This one is better at calling plays. We shall see how it works out, but Gio Lopez, oh my gosh, Justin has figured out technology and will be joining us. More than likely, he's pretty steamed, so bear with him. Justin, how did your fight go with your computer?
No, not well. I still lost the battle here. I'm stuck using not my actual camera for this one because it did not want to connect for some reason. Seems we're having an issue here where when you switch computers and everything wants to stay connected to one computer, but it also wants to connect to the other computer, it makes a unanticipated problem there. That's how my day has gone. Where are we right now?
I tried to stall a little bit. Two things, went over NBA stuff, and while you were fighting with your computer, news broke that Jim Irsay passed away. So
I was not ready for that.
No. So I gave the thoughts and prayers to the family and friends of Jim Irsay. So to go to a happier note, I will continue on with my North Carolina Tar Heels ramble. But the North Carolina Tar Heels traded one 70-year-old for another. And this 70-year-old has a 20-year-old fiance. 20-something-year-old fiance. And he has Gio Lopez, who balled out at South Alabama. And they have Bryce Baker, I believe is his name, a 4-star recruit. We'll see if he gets playing time this year. They may just redshirt him. But Bill Belichick walks into a program that is just gifted Jordan gear because Michael Jordan went there. He goes into a program writing the successes of the basketball program. He has a rather large sum of money to just hand out to these guys. He is a great evaluator of talent and will be able to figure out how to get this team going. So I think the UNC Tar Heels are a team to watch. My honorable mention for the ACC is the Syracuse Orange. But ultimately, I believe that Bill Belichick is such a great play caller and a good coach that he's going to whip this team into shape and go from 6-6 last year under Mac Brown to, I don't know, 4.
This is a spicy take. I'll say there are some people out there that are saying he isn't going to make it past this year. So I'm very curious to see who's going to be correct about that. I mean, he is Bill Belichick. He has won Super Bowls for a reason. It's not like if this guy has forgotten how to coach, even if he does have a 24-year-old. I think I almost missed the news there, but I think fiance now. Yeah, it'll be very fascinating to see how this team does.
Yeah. Justin, who's your ACC team?
Yeah, so I'm going a different route here. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. This is a team that already hinted at a lot of success here in the last year. You know, kind of had some quarterback injuries get in the way, but they have Haynes King back. He is just a gritty as hell quarterback who will run his face into an opposing defense 25 times if he needs to in order to win the game. But, you know, he's got a running mate back there with Jamal Haynes at running back. And that offensive line is, you know, they're taking under the identity of their head coach, Brent Key. He was a former offensive line coach. He prioritized recruiting offensive linemen. And this is a mauling group who just knocks open lanes for the run game. We saw this against just about everyone they played. You know, it helped them against Miami. They were running the ball well on Georgia even. That is how good this run game is. To support the run game, they have some good receivers back. Eric Singleton was a huge loss. That one was kind of disappointing. I was hoping he would stick around. If he had stuck around, this team would be even more dangerous than it already is. But they have Malik Rutherford, that's a hard name to say, back. And Eric Rivers from FIU was a huge transfer portal addition to help as well. They hit the portal with some other guys too that could potentially mix in there. On the defensive side, they have a big meteor man in Jordan Vandenberg who will man the middle of the defensive line. They did have a lot of other defensive linemen leave. Some of them went to the NFL, some went to the portal. So they did have to utilize the portal a lot to fill the rest of the holes. But you look at this linebacker group, the secondary, there's just a lot of experience back there. If these portal guys, which I'm predicting the portal guys hit, if they hit, this defense will be really good. And Georgia Tech will be ready to make their run to at least reach the ACC championship.
I'll put a little bit of money on that. Just a little bit, not like a ton, because if it's anything like the NBA playoffs, I would lose my money pretty quick. But
the one
do you think Georgia Tech will do white jerseys or blue jerseys for home? Because you know they're like the Dallas Cowboys of college football.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. And even more curious about what happens when they play Georgia, because they sold that home game to Mercedes-Benz Stadium for $10 million.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I like Georgia Tech. It's time to see them. I kind of want to see them go back to the SEC. Yeah.
I'm curious if they'll play. Do they have a series coming up against Alabama? Because if you don't know the background story, it was Alabama that led to Georgia Tech leaving. They disagreed with them, and so they left.
I don't think that. I think that relationship is soured.
Yeah, I do agree. They played Tennessee. Oh, 2030, 2031. Georgia Tech and Alabama back on the field against each other.
Sorry, I'm looking something up because I forget the guy's name because it'll segue me into the next thing. So, do you want to segue us into the next conference while I'm looking this up?
Yeah, we are moving on to the American Conference. This conference is interesting to me because there's a huge split, I feel like, where you have the top half of the conference looks very competitive, a lot of solid teams in this group. And then you just have all the other teams who there's like 6 or 7 of them with new head coaches this year. You got the contending group, the rebuilding group. Teams we're going to be looking at here are both in the contending group. And while you're looking that up, I'm going to go ahead and start
I think
with mine.
I actually got the name.
Ooh, never mind. We're going to start with yours.
So, the team that I like in the American is UTSA. So, I think the Roadrunners kind of fell flat last year simply. Huh?
I said meet.
I think they fell flat on their face because they weren't used to the big travel schedule. Switching conferences to the American, they are a little bit further away than everybody else. So they took their success and they were riding high and they kind of just fell off a little bit. I think they kind of are now, they have their feet under them. I think they have a lot going good for them. If I am remembering correctly, center Ben Rios is an All-American and is supposed to be an absolute stud. Could start almost anywhere in college football.
Dog.
So, yeah, straight up dog. So I think pass protection is going to be key here, and I think that UTSA will get back to like kind of being in the spotlight a little bit more. I think that one thing is I think the community has rallied around the Roadrunners a little bit more and started filling up the stadium. Justin, you got to go to that stadium. What'd you think of it?
It was a really cool stadium. It was one of the coolest venues I've definitely been in. The Alamo Dome is a great place to house them. It's kind of cool that for most of the year, they're basically the only team in there. So they're the
because their basketball plays there, right?
I don't believe their basketball does.
Oh, okay. That would be dope if their basketball played there. But UTSA, I mean, it seems like the top tier American teams are kind of falling back outside of Navy and Army. I feel like Tulane could take a step back this year. So I think that opens the door for UTSA to kind of make a run to the top of the conference. They got their head coach stayed there, and I believe he signed an extension through 2031. So he's going to be there for a little bit. They got some pretty good weapons all over the place. So I think they can get it done.
Yeah, and Owen McCown is definitely a dog at quarterback. He continued to improve throughout the year. I really like how he played, especially the second half of the year.
But don't sleep on Demetrius Davis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they may rotate some in.
But yeah, it was an adjustment at first last year because they had Frank Harris for such a long time. And McCown was the first non-Frank Harris quarterback in several years. I mean, Frank Harris was like a 7-year senior, so that was his play improving throughout the year is why UTSA ended the year strong. And I'm excited to see what they do with that momentum.
Yeah. Who's your American team?
I'm staying in the great state of Texas. This time, what I'm wearing is giving it away. The North Texas Mean Green. They feel like a team that's been sort of knocking on the door, and now it's time for them to bash that door open. We know with head coach Eric Morris, this offense is going to be great, but the pieces around it are going to be a lot of fun to watch throughout the year. They have a quarterback competition, and whoever wins the job is going to be really good. Reese Poffenbarger, what an awesome name. He was part of one of the best Cinderella stories we've seen in FCS in some time when he led the Albany Great Danes to the semifinals in 2023. Messed up my ears for a moment there. He transferred to Miami, the Hurricanes, and really I thought he was set to start there, but then Cam Ward obviously came in late in the cycle and took the job instead. So it's a little bit hard for him to be able to move on. I'm excited to see what he can do, but this job definitely isn't just his. Last year's bowl game hero, Drew Mestemaker, who starred in that bowl game, he will be competition for Poffenbarger. Whoever wins this job is going to be really good. At running back, they lost their starter to Sam Houston. We'll get to this in a moment, but North Texas and Sam Houston kind of got in a little battle of each other this offseason, taking players from each other. They lost a starter to Sam Houston, but Mackenzie Gill II is another good running back. And I'm very intrigued to see Missouri State transfer Aiden Bex. He is a electric factory with his speed, strong returner, can catch the ball in the backfield. He's going to be an interesting difference maker. Back to the North Texas Sam Houston war. Simeon Evans was Sam Houston's best receiver last year. He will now be coming over to North Texas and leading that receiving core. North Texas lost their top receiver to Rutgers, but otherwise they have 3 other top receivers back. The one thing they need to fix on offense this year is finishing drives. The Army game in particular, obviously we have referenced that game many times, mostly because of Army's really awesome long drive. But another part of that game was that North Texas reached scoring territory 4 times and failed to score more than 3 points. So that was just an example of what went on, but this is an issue for them all year. They were 3rd in the nation in yards, but the problem for the Mean Green was simply finishing drives. That's a fixable issue that I believe they will fix this year. Defense. There's nowhere to go but up for this defense. They were among the worst. I'm doing a lot of research lately, so I don't want to throw out the stat that I thought of because maybe mixing up another team. I thought they were dead last in pass defense, but I could be wrong about that. But defense still can go nowhere but up. They completely changed up this unit with the transfer portal this year, including adding a player from Sam Houston at every level of defense. They added a player on the defensive line from Sam Houston at linebacker and in the secondary. So it's very funny to see that kind of back and forth go on. But I think that revamped defense will at least get them enough stops to beat some of the top teams in this conference and maybe hit 8, maybe even 9 wins this year. The Mean Green, they're coming for it.
There you go. And moving on to the Fun Belt, the last conference that we will cover for the day. I'm wearing the hat. Gotta go with them. Gotta go with the Dukes. James Madison. They're my hype train for the Fun Belt. They went 9-4 last year. All 4 losses were in conference. 9-4 for James Madison actually seems like a really big disappointment. They had a new coach last year. They had half their team transfer. Now all bets are off. All the training wheels are off. Now it is time to shine, and I think they can do that. They are actually pretty deep at quarterback. Currently, Camden Coleman is slated to be the starter, but if you were paying attention like I was, you'd remember that Matthew Sluka came from UNLV after playing, 10 snaps, and then just decided that he would quit on UNLV.
He had that one legacy drive to beat Kansas, and then boom, he was out of there.
Yeah. So I think handing the ball to George Pettaway, I think...
There's one more connection that we cannot forget to tell the viewers as well. Matthew Sluka played for head coach Bob Chesney at Holy Cross. So there's experience here too.
Yeah, so you can imagine that he will probably be the starter, is what I would imagine. They have kind of an easy schedule, and I was a little bit tough on them on this schedule even. So 10 wins is kind of where I see them, and that's them losing to Louisville, Louisiana, and I think Texas State was the other one that I had chosen. So, but James Madison, they're going to be back on top, and maybe, just maybe, my dream will stay alive of them playing themselves into the ACC.
I was going to say more likely, maybe they stay competitive with Louisville, win all the Sun Belt games, and reach the college football playoff.
That would be fantastic. I would become a big fan at that point. I was a fan when they first got to FBS. Kind of followed them a little bit in FCS, but when they got to FBS, I was like, that's the team. They are also my current team in an NCAA or college football 25. So also enjoying that. Justin, who is your Fun Belt team?
One last closing thought. It does feel like it's a matter of when, not if, for James Madison to crash the college football playoffs. So I'm excited about that. Now, our gear has been hinting at who we're talking about here. I am finally going to do a diversion. It is not Marshall, but a team that I do not have a hat of that I'm picking for the Sun Belt. Really a team that's gone under the radar completely overall. The Old Dominion Monarchs are the team I'm going with here in the Sun Belt.
Fun fact, Justin. Do you know who their arch rival is?
James Madison?
The James Madison Dukes, baby.
Yep. We're on other sides of Virginia here.
House divided. Fun Belt edition.
Fun Belt edition. Let's go. Old Dominion has a rising sophomore quarterback in Colton Joseph. He showed some big performances last year that he has a ton of potential. He has a great arm and is a really good runner. Old Dominion overall actually had the best run offense in the conference last year. And, with some really good offensive linemen that can carve out the running lanes, that will continue. They have a good duo of running backs in Devin Roche and Bryce Duke, who will run along with Joseph, running back from the quarterback position. So that run game will remain really good for Old Dominion. The main thing that their offense needs to improve this year is going to be avoiding turnovers. It is a very fixable issue, especially something that I'm not surprised they dealt with, starting a quarterback that, switching to a quarterback that was a freshman. So they have a great chance to improve upon that. When Old Dominion did not turn the ball over multiple times last year, they went 5-1. And of course, they went 0-6 when they did. So that is a key stat for them. Their one question is going to be at receiver. They had to completely revamp this unit out of the portal. Not really a lot of known names there. So it's going to be all about development to find the right guys there. But moving to the defensive side of the ball, I have to talk about this linebacking core. This linebacking core is awesome. They have Jason Henderson, who is potentially the best player in the Sun Belt. One of the best players, and probably one of the best linebackers in college football overall. He was a missing piece last year. He missed basically all of last year with a knee injury. If he's healthy and back, he will be an absolute weapon. But here's the thing. They had a whole rotation. Koa Natala. I need to figure out how to pronounce that, but he was really good. Mario Thompson and Jason Colbreth. All three of those guys also played good in Henderson's place last year. You put Henderson back in that mix, they're going to be able to rotate guys. This linebacking core is going to be a nightmare for offenses all around the Sun Belt and anyone really in their path. That's going to be exciting. The rest of the defense returns a lot of good pieces as well. Defensive line has a few good pass rushers, and the one thing they need to work on is stopping the run. If they're even decent at stopping the run, this defense will be very dangerous. Old Dominion is for sure returning to a bowl. I think maybe I can see about 8 wins for them this year.
8 wins for them wouldn't be bad. I think that would be a vast improvement. Last year, they were 5-7. So I think every year they've been slowly improving.
Last year was a little bit of a regression from the year before. And a lot of that was just, they got in their own way a little bit with turnovers and everything. But yeah, I like what they can do. I like what they can do this year. The schedule is, it has some challenges on here. They play Liberty, they play Indiana and Virginia Tech, but I do think this team can make a pretty good run.
Yeah. In an effort to shorten our off-season videos, we are going to stop right there. Next week, we have 3 more conferences to go over.
That will be the MAC. We'll be talking MACtion, the Mountain West, and Conference USA.
And we are excited for all 3 of those. You know why, Justin?
Why is that?
Because here at Updog Sports Talk, we pride ourselves on sticking up for the little guy. I feel like these conferences are all very underrepresented. So we're excited to talk about them. Look forward to seeing us there. If you haven't done so already, like, subscribe, give us a shout out. We'd love that. Follow us on X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. What else are we on, Justin? Did I miss anything? All the podcast stuff.
Yeah. We're wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, pretty much wherever you get your podcast, at Updog Sports Talk, everywhere on the internet. Go find us. We love to interact with people. So as long as you got good, positive things to say, we will tweet back. Twitter is where all of our updates are at, though. So if you want any updates on our show, go to Twitter. Well, we will continue our hype train next week, and we'll see you next time. See you guys.
Later.